We'll start off on our little red spinner, eh? All right. I'm using a Gamakatsu. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Now this little fly, I'm probably a bit different to a lot of people. I fish from the shore a heck of a lot. And I'm going to tie this on a 12, but I find these days I'm fishing smaller and smaller flies, especially in a place like Penstock, which, as we all know, is pretty well loved. And they get tougher as the season goes on. And I find that I've just got to get smaller in flies and you know, so that you're still catching the odd fish or two. So, all right, we'll start off. That's what I'm going to use, a Gamakatsu, and this is a 12. Just yell out if I'm doing anything wrong here, you blokes, or I'm not meeting your expectations. Okay. Right. Everyone can see that okay, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. That's a bit of contrast, isn't it? Now, what I'm using is, years ago, Bridges Brothers had this monocord, and I just gave Steve a couple of reels. I bought about 200 reels of this stuff when they got out of all this monocord, and it's what I use for the body. I still use a thing, and I reckon Tony would, well, is this stuff. You can still buy this. Well, actually, that's a correction. You can now buy this again, but it's $35 a container, would you believe?
Mm-hmm.
It's wax. And don't get mistaken for deodorant, because you'll end up with very sticky armpits. Right. Now, start off in the normal way. Hang on, swap glasses. Right. The body like so. Now I stick a little bit of a blob on the end to spread the tails, and then I'm using a gingery sort of hackle and grab them from off the side. Like so. You want about, I don't know, 8 or 10 of them, I suppose. And then they add, you've got to come across a bit, haven't I? Yeah, that's better, isn't it? Is that better?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Just a normal little pinch and loop method. And you want the tails fairly long. Is that okay?
Yep.
Right. Get rid of the bit of surplus. Now, I just built up a little bit of a body with the stuff. This stuff's about a 6.0, I reckon. And this is, I've had a fair bit of success with this in penstock when they're on the spinners. So, okay, I've sort of built up a little bit of a cigar-shaped body. Now I'm probably about,
you're not going to Victoria, are you?
Pardon me? I'm about a third of the way in from the eye, okay? And I use, hang on, I'll show you what I'm using. You probably all bought this stuff. This polypropylene floating yarn. Is that in good? No?
Yeah, no, that's good. Oh,
See that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I know what my problem is. I've got my reading glasses on. It's not focusing when I show you. Right, so, and you'll find that you'll have to split it, because when it's like that, it's too thick, obviously, for that size hook. So I just split it with a dubbing needle down through the middle and end up with obviously 50%. So a little tuft of that, and then I tie that in with that tag there towards the hook shank, towards the hook point, okay, and lock that in. I taper it off a little bit so the body will tie up a little bit neatly, like so, and then just trap it in and form that little body up. Just enough so you're covering all the white. Any questions?
No, good.
Everyone's happy? So I'm leaving myself, you know, enough room here to put a little head in. So now I wind that around like so. To give myself something to put the to tie the what's name hackle. I like I'm not a great fan of ordinary traditional hackles. Yeah, I like a parachute hackle. Now, but I don't know about you guys. I think they sit down in the water better, and I don't know, from my way of thinking. I read a book by a crowd called Goddard and Clark, and the one bloke was a photographer, and the other bloke was a scuba diver, and they took a lot of photographs of what the trout sees from underwater. And, you know, a fly that rides really high is hard for a trout to see. And so I use parachute hackles because I think they sit better and lower down into the water. Now, what I do here is I cut some of the flue off on either side. Hang on, I'm not quite there, am I? There we go. There and there. So I end up like a little toothbrush. And the reason I do that is the thread will grip hold of that and it won't pull out. Make sense?
Yep.
See that okay?
We did.
Yep. Yeah. So I've made that there, and I just stick that in, right in, and I tie right hard against the post. Like so.
That's just an orange hackle.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, orangey brownie hackle. You want it to be reasonably large so that it, you know, covers a fair bit of surface area. And I then proceed to wind the hackle. And what's that, about 6 turns? And then I bring that right in. I don't know if you can appreciate what I'm doing here. I'm bringing this in at an angle so that when I run this thread up, I run the thread up on the actual hackle. And I run it up and then run it up on the hackle so I'm not trapping anything. Okay? Now, slipping the scissors in, and obviously not cutting doing too much damage, I cut that out. Holding all the hackles up with the thumb and index finger. Might miss a couple, that doesn't matter. I then use, you know how the red spinner's got that little abdomen on the front? So I then use, well, what I'm using here is this stuff. Partridge, anything that's sort of a browny reddy colour, I reckon it'd do to give it a bit of a thorax. Is that the word we're looking for?
Yep.
Okay. G'day, Davis.
G'day, mate. I've got some here to show you too.
Very good. So you only need a tiny little bit of this. You know, only a little smidgen. And a little bit of dubbing on the thumb and forefinger. No need a lot. Then lifting the hackles out of the way, like so.
How would you describe the colour of the dubbing, David?
It's this stuff I'm using. It's probably a claret. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now a couple of turns in there. Now I don't know about you guys, but I just use one of these things. When I first started teaching fly tying, I never used a wet finish tool, and then a lot of the students brought them along, and I decided, well, I better learn how to use one. And now I find they're very good because you can really accurately place the whip finish where you want to. I don't know if anyone agrees with me or that, but you know, they're very, very accurate as to how you can lay your thread in. So keeping the hackles out of the way, I take about 3 or 4 turns, and then I lock that off, and I do it twice. Get rid of the bobbin. Now, just pushing that down, pushing it up. And then I get into here and cut about so. Yeah. Always you can trim it down, of course. Okay, so that's the little critter. And I've had a lot of success. My best day on that this year was 11 up the shore in 4 hours at Penstock.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which I know doesn't quite rate the numbers that the guys get out of the boats pulling wets, but it was a spectacular 4 hours. It was my best day ever, actually, in Penstock. I had a lot of fun.